Hi, I'm Pam, and this is my monthly update video letting you know everything that I was up to in the month of January. So it has been a fairly busy month for me in terms of gaming, in terms of going places and seeing people. To start out, I went to MagFest in the middle of January. And when I say I went to MagFest, I mean I went to the vicinity of MagFest. I didn't actually buy a ticket to the convention or step foot near the convention center at all. However, me and a bunch of my friends rented a house in Maryland near the convention, and while many of them were much more interested in going, I just wanted to go and hang out with everyone in the house. We had some good nights where we played Jackbox games, we sang karaoke, we had lots of good food, and just good times all around. So that was a lot of fun. We even got to go out rock climbing with a big group of us, which is really cool. Usually I've never been rock climbing with more than 3 people at a time, usually not more than 2. So that was really cool. And it was also cool to check out another rock climbing gym. I think it was called Rock Sport Alexandria, possibly. But yeah, that was a really good trip. I think there was only one episode of Point and Drink Adventure in January, and it just came out yesterday or 2 days ago, depending on when this video goes up. But Michelle and I talk more about MagFest and all the things we've been watching and playing, and you should go check that out if you haven't watched/listened to it yet. Now on to pickups. I do actually have a video game pickup this month, which is quite rare since, as you know, I've been mostly pruning my collection rather than adding to it. But one thing that I've had on my want list for a little while that I have not been able to find at a number of different gaming events, but Michelle managed to find a copy for me and she gave it to me. It is Incredible Crisis on the PlayStation. And this is just a weird little game. Last year when we were doing the Polymedia charity stream, Blinkoom played this. And it's basically a series of mini games. You play as, I believe it's a family, like 4 or 5 characters, all just having the weirdest day of their life. And each of them has to go through weird mini games, like going through offices, on Ferris wheels, and in amusement parks. And it just looked really funny and strange. So I wanted a chance to play it myself. This is very minty. Actually, when Michelle and her sister found it, it was sealed. But games are not meant to be sealed. So they opened it before they gave it to me, which I would have done myself. So I'm looking forward to trying this when I get around to it. Now on to what I've been playing. For the first 3 weeks of the month, I had barely played anything, and I was like, what am I even going to talk about in this video? And then I've just been hitting up those short games at the end of the month. So I've actually got quite a lot of things to talk about. The first thing I beat at the beginning of the year was the Alan Wake remaster. I really wanted to play Alan Wake again before Alan Wake 2, but I never did. I played Alan Wake 2 first. However, I have a friend who had never played Alan Wake at all, so we played through it together, just sort of passing the controller back and forth. And I loved it just as much as I originally did. This has always been one of my favorite horror games, even though I don't find it's that horrifying. It's not the scariest game, but I really like the mechanics. I like the idea of having to burn the darkness off of these taken before you can actually shoot them, and all of the different light grenades and flares and things that you can use. I like how the story's told. I love games with narrators for some reason. I've always loved narration in games. There are some annoying bits, mostly that Alan just loses all of his equipment at least once a chapter, which, dude, just hold on to your gun and your flashlight, you need it. But that's a bit annoying. But otherwise, I really liked it. It's fun finding the collectibles. I like all the strange characters in it, and I had a really good time playing it. Next up is something that we finished on our Wednesday co-op night, and it is Mythforce, which is a game that looks very good and does not play very good. So Mythforce is a first-person action dungeon crawler type game. It has this amazing presentation. It looks like it's an 80s Sunday morning cartoon. It looks kind of like Don Bluth style animation, sort of like in Dragon's Lair, except like much newer. It starts out each of the 3 acts with a cool animated segment that's awesome. And then you get into the game and it just kind of, meh. You sort of go around, you fight a room full of enemies, you pick a little talent for yourself at the end of each room. So it's kind of a roguelike. And I was playing a character who was a thief, so he had a bow and he stabbed things. He could like throw sand in people's eyes to blind them. And I thought like the concept of the game was good, but it was really, really buggy. And we had so many issues. Sometimes our inputs would just stop working. Someone would pick one talent that they wanted to take and it would just give them another one. In the little hub town you go between successful or unsuccessful missions, there's a quest board. If you click on the quest board, your game just crashes. Like, it was full of issues. It was often quite laggy as well playing. So yeah, not the best game for sure. I still had a decent enough time playing it. Like, it had enough interesting things, and I thought the gameplay was all right, just got repetitive, sort of environments kept getting repeated, and those bugs really, really put a damper on things. But we did beat that. Sadly, no amazing cartoon animation at the end of the game for some reason, but the next thing that I spent a lot of time playing last month was Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. If you've watched my videos last year, you knew that I was very excited about this. I did go to Ubisoft Montpellier last year in May or June and got a look at the game before it was officially announced to the public. I really liked what I saw while I was there. I thought the movement and the combat felt excellent. I really liked how it looked. However, one of the things that I most look for in a Metroidvania is the world and how it interconnects and how exploration and ability progression is. And since when I played it, I just got sort of little slices of the game, I wasn't really able to judge it on that at all. So it finally came out and I thought it was excellent. It just exceeded my expectations. It was great to explore. I play so many Metroidvanias, and this is the first time in a long time that the abilities actually surprised and delighted me. Sometimes I'd see something and I wouldn't know what ability would get me to go there. And then when I did get a new ability, I was always delighted that I could use it not just for traversal, but also for really interesting things in combat. There aren't a ton of abilities, but they all get used in multiple ways, and they're just really cool. I find the platforming is some of the best, smoothest platforming I've played in a Metroidvania, and I was just really excited about it. If you want to see my full review, I have made an entire video that details everything. When I beat the game, I was at like 72%. I've been slowly making my way through trying to get to 100. I think I'm at about 90% right now. Sadly, I did run into a bug with a side quest, which I think is going to prevent me from doing that. So I'm hoping that that gets fixed sometime soon. It has to do with a pirate and finding their bird. But yeah, I hope that gets fixed. But otherwise, the game was just super fun. Definitely in my top tier of Metroidvanias. So when I came back from MagFest, I was looking for something to play, something that wasn't gonna require too much of my time, and I found Toem, which is on Xbox Game Pass right now. And this is basically a photography game, and I like photography in games a lot, but only in a like find this and take a picture of it way. Like, I'm actually not interested in photo modes and like settings and colors and filters and focus. Like, I don't care about all that. I just want to be like, ooh, bird, click. That's the extent of my liking of photography. And so this was just like that. Like, I'd almost compare it to a 3D Where's Waldo almost. So you play this little guy and he's going out through the world to capture this phenomenon called Toem. And along the way, you go to a bunch of different locations and you get a bunch of little challenges. They kind of act as little puzzles, so you have to sort of figure out what you need to take a picture of to solve that puzzle. As well, you want to photograph all the different wildlife and things in every area. And I just thought it was delightful. The writing was very charming. The puzzles were very cute and clever. It's all in black and white, which is interesting. And yeah, this is one where I think I played through the whole thing in 2 sessions. Like, I would have played it in 1, except I had to go do something. But yeah, it was one that just like kept my attention the whole time, and I just found it so charming. I really liked that one, and I ended up 100%ing that, which isn't usually a thing I do. Next thing I played is also a shorter one, and it's one that I've had on my backlog for a little while. It's called Betrayal at Club Low. This is a game by Cosmo D, who has made a bunch of interesting games that I've really enjoyed. Off Peak and the Norwood Suite are 2 of them. And they're just strange little games where you walk around and see weird things and talk to people who say weird stuff to you. It's got cool jazzy music in the background. The characters all look like mannequins kind of, and the visuals almost seem thrown together, but in a way that ends up making sense somehow. This one is the most mechanically heavy of the games. It's not just walking and talking. It adds a sort of RPG element. You are a undercover agent trying to save someone who's being kept in this club, and you get to build up certain stats. So there's things like deception, or intelligence, and then also specific things like music, since you're in a music club, and cooking, since you serve pizzas to people as a reason for talking to them and getting tips. So you're just going around trying to solve things in different ways, picking which stat you want to use to tackle each problem. And again, it's a very surreal, bizarre kind of game, but with writing that I find very amusing at times. So I liked this one a lot. I liked that there was a little bit more to it than previous games by this developer. But yeah, Betrayal at Club Low was a really fun time. Also had to start off the year with an FMV game. I played She Sees Red, which is an interactive movie. It's very much a crime thriller type thing. Honestly, I love FMV so much, but just the plain interactive movie is my least favorite use of that. Like, I like it when it's a little more mechanically rich than that. You're seeing a club again, and half of it you're going through as this guy in a hoodie, and he's the ones making the decisions. And then it switches to a cop who's working with the nightclub owner and trying to figure out what's going on. First of all, this is a Russian game, and I started off having the English dub on, which is absolutely terrible, just horrible voice acting. So I switched it to the original Russian, which was much better. The acting seemed much better in Russian, and the performances were all good. The sort of production values seemed good. It was just like, there's just not very much to do. And I think in my first whole playthrough, I think maybe there was 6 decision points, and a lot of them didn't seem to matter. It's like, do you search the room or leave the room? Do you hide or cause a distraction? Do you search the desk or do you search the wall? Like, I don't know. What does this matter? How do I even know how this is going to impact how things go? So I played through it, I think, twice just to see different scenes. But overall, yeah, I was hoping it would be a little more than an interactive movie, because that's just not really my thing. Also, just a couple days ago, a new game on Game Pass is Brotato, which is kind of like a auto shooter game. It's kind of like Vampire Survivors, except much different art style. My problem with these games is that they're not fun, they're just addictive. And the gameplay part of this is actually exceptionally unfun, as all these monsters are spawning and you're just auto shooting or punching or whatever. And the environment is just a square, just a big square room, and you run in circles around it until the round ends, which is just so boring. Now, I do find, again, compared to Vampire Survivors, which is like my touchstone for this genre, building your character is more interesting. Like feels like there's more synergies for the different weapons you're choosing and the different little abilities, and you have a much more interesting stat sheet. So that part of it's kind of cool. But yeah, the actual playing bit is just bad. It's just one of those things where it's like, oh, I just try it again. Oh, this only took 15 minutes. I could try again. But again, addictive, yes. Fun, no. And one last thing that was retired, didn't play this for too long, but I was looking for a couch co-op game to play. So I tried Figment 2, and visually this is quite charming. There's also a lot of sort of musicality in the game, which is neat. It's sort of a top-down isometric kind of a puzzler almost. You play as the main character, and then they have like a little bird critter of some kind that goes along with them. The problem is that this isn't a proper co-op game. Like, unless you are playing with a small child who doesn't play video games, there's really nothing for the second player to do. The first player does everything. The second player flies around and has very little to do with the actual gameplay. So it seems like one of those where it's like, yeah, kid, here, you hold this controller, like when you give your little sister a NES controller that's not even plugged in or something like that. So yeah, for two adults playing together, definitely not interesting enough for a co-op game. But if you have small children, maybe. All right, so that is it for my updates from last month. Leave me a comment, let me know what you've been playing, if you want to recommend anything to me, if you have any interesting pickups. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. If you want to see more, check out one of my other videos here. I have a Patreon if you want to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.